Hello, welcome to Anatomy Lesson 1.02 on anatomical directions and planes. In this video, we're going to talk about the general terms that you need to know as we go through the course of the year. They're going to help you identify where on a body we're talking. This always comes up when I read articles about someone goes into a hospital to have their right knee replaced and they replace the left knee instead, or something, or even worse, I read one article where someone had the wrong limb amputated. So being able to identify in a scientific and reproducible manner what's right, what's left, what's up, what's down is really, really important. We have two different topics on this sheet. On this side, we have anatomical planes. And so if you're going to go in and you're going to complete surgery on someone, where do you need to section? Do you want a section across the middle, or do you want a section from top to bottom? We'll do that second. Over here, we're going to look at how do we describe up and down, left and right. Well, the first thing that you need to know is that when you're talking about anatomical directions, so that's the first part we're doing here, you have to be in something called SAP, S-A-P. And this fella is standing in SAP. It stands for Standard Anatomical Position. So you stand with your feet together and your palms are turned so that they are facing forward as you stand there. So here we have the back of the hand, here we have the front of the hand. So anytime we're looking for a direction, we always say, assume the person is in SAP. All right, our first one is, excuse me, above and below. So we have, I'm going to do letters here. So I have S and I have I. S is superior, which is above, and I is inferior, which is below. So what I see here is the top of the head is superior to the chest, or the chest is inferior to the top of the head. A lot of times when we do these terms of directions, we're comparing two areas. But in this case, we're talking about superior is above and inferior is below. One of the more common ones that we'll use, and I'm going to draw a dashed line down the center. And I'm going to put an M here, and I'm going to put an L here. So the M stands for medial, and that means we're close to the center line. And the L stands for lateral, which is away from the midline. Actually, midline is probably the better way to say it. So the elbow is lateral to the belly button. The belly button is medial to the elbow. So anything that's close to this midline is medial. If we're looking at a knee, if you injured the medial side, you injured down in here. And if you injured the lateral side, you injured out here. All right, the next one is, I'm going to put an A over here and a P over here. A is anterior. We think of that as the front. P is posterior. And we think of that as the back. There are two other terms for front and back, but we have to look at them, and this requires me to draw, which is kind of a scary endeavor. But let's see, where should I put this? So if I've got somebody here and I've got their nose, their mouth, chin, their neck. We're looking at them from the side. It's not a very good side view, is it? This is why you guys have handouts. Okay, so we're looking at somebody from the side. We can say, we could do front and back this way as well. So we could say that this is the front. We could say this is the back. But when we're talking about front and back this way, we use dorsal and ventral. So the back here would be dorsal when you're looking at it from the side, and the front would be ventral, V-E-N-T-R-A-L. I lost my writing over here. And where we actually see this more commonly is on animals. So if I had done a shark instead, those are big teeth. As a shark, he looks like he's got gums, not teeth. We all know this is a dorsal fin, and then this would be there's a fin down here. This would be ventral. So a lot of times we consider dorsal and ventral on an animal. More commonly than not on humans, we're going to use posterior and anterior, but it is possible when we do our cavities. That's actually the only time I can think of where we use dorsal and ventral. All right, what else? What about if we have something that is on the surface? So if I have something on the surface, that is going to be superficial. The other thing I could have is deep. So we just do superficial and deep. All right, finally, the last set that we have, I'm going to draw a little square here in the center of the body. So everything kind of, and this could be on either side. I better pick something besides green that looks like medial and lateral. Let's go with hot pink. So if we talk about things being close to this or further away, we have, let's use, let's do a P here and a D here. The P is proximal. And proximal is defined as close to the trunk. So this little circle here represents the trunk of the body. And if you're closer to that, you're proximal. D distal is further away from the trunk. Further from the trunk. So we say that the elbow is proximal to the hand. We'll say the hand is distal to the elbow. So what that means is the hand is further away than the elbow to the trunk. Or that if you're comparing, so in this case, in a sense, you're actually comparing 3 points. You're comparing this to this, to this, to this. So proximal and distal are almost always used as a relationship versus medial, lateral, superior, inferior, where it just kind of gives you a general area. Okay, so what about this guy? He's also in SAP. And this image is showing us 3 different ways you can cut the body. So the first plane, these are surgical planes, sometimes called surgical planes. Another place we use this is if you get a CAT scan or an MRI, they'll take pictures of your body and they might do this plane, or they might do this plane, or they might do this plane. So we also see this in imaging. So the first one, easiest to see, is we'll do this one in the middle. That is a transverse section. A transverse section, which divides the body into a top and a bottom. So it divides the body into a superior and an inferior. You have a section, or you have an area above, you have an area below. The next one is this guy. And in this case, the face stays intact. We're dividing, so the head gets divided down this way. So the face remains intact. This is called a coronal section. coronal ties to crown. And so if you think about you wear a crown there, that's one way you can remember it. So this divides into an anterior and posterior. Divides the body into anterior and posterior. And the face remains intact. All right, then finally, this is dividing the body into a left and right half. This is called a sagittal section. I'm going to run out of room over there. I'm going to put it over here. So this divides into a left half and a right half. And we have a special one here because it goes exactly through the center of the body. If you have a sagittal section that divides the body exactly into left and right halves, we call that mid-sagittal. That's exactly in the middle. Again, these will come around every chapter that we'll do for the rest of the year. So get the year off to a good start and get these memorized and in your memory banks as soon as you can. All right, that's all for now.